Yeah.
Trustee Akaka,
Ew.
Trustee Akina,
Aloha mai kako.
Trustee Alapa. I will. Trustee Galutaria,
Ew.
Chair Kahele,
Present.
Trustee Lindsay, Trustee Waihe'e,
Present.
Trustee Ahuna, Chair Souza.
Ew. All right, we have quorum members. So joining the trustees today is Kapuahana Stacey Ferreira, along with numerous support staff. I'm gonna call on Kapuahana to introduce the administrative staff joining us here this afternoon.
Mahalo, Chair, Vice Chair, Trustees. Joining us in person and online, we have Endowment Director Ryan Lee, Interim Corporation Counsel Everett Ota, Interim Director of Land Assets Lori Walker, Senior IT Systems Engineer and Administrator Kevin Chalk, and IT Assistant Oscar Rolls. Mahalo.
Mahalo Kapuahana. All right, this meeting can be viewed via live stream on OHA's website at www.oha.org/livestream. If you'd like to testify on any agenda item during the Zoom meeting, please raise your hand when that item is announced. When called upon, please unmute yourself. You'll be given the ability to turn on your camera during your testimony. Once you're finished, we ask that you mute your microphone. We're recording today's meeting for the sole purpose of producing written minutes, which will become the official record of this meeting. Public testimony should be limited to matters listed on the meeting agenda and will occur prior to any listed item's conclusion or vote. If you begin to address other issues not on today's meeting agenda, the ILM chair will call you out of order and direct you to limit your testimony to items listed on the agenda. Testifiers' mics will be unmuted when it is your turn to testify. If you're not audible, you'll be muted and the next testifier will be called. Oral testimony online will be limited to 5 minutes. Your mic will be automatically muted once you have completed your oral testimony, or if your allotted time for testimony expires. Please log off after testifying, otherwise staff may be forced to remove you. All right, moving on to our first item of business, approval of minutes from the Committee on Investment and Land Management dated May 14, 2025. Do I have a motion?
Also moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, motion made by Trustee Wahe'e, seconded by Trustee Alapa.
I have one edit that I believe was provided to your team. Yeah. Hemoing the formerly that's in front of the incarcerated. Minor kind.
So, okay, now I can call for discussion. What page are you referring to, Trustee Akaka?
Page 4 out of 5, where it says formerly incarcerated, but just incarcerated. Thank you.
Noted. Thank you very much. Any other discussion? All right, members, can I get a roll call vote?
Trustee Ahuna,
Aye.
Trustee Akaka,
Aye.
Trustee Akina,
Aye.
Trustee Alapa, Trustee Galutaria, Chair Kahele,
Aye.
Trustee Lindsay, Trustee Waihe'e,
Yes.
Chair Souza.
All right, members, motion passes. Moving on to the next item, unfinished business. Seeing none, we'll move on to new business. And at this time, we're going to get a briefing from Ryan Lee on the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund investment portfolio review for the quarter ending March 31st, 2025. Aloha, Ryan. Is there anyone signed up to testify?
No testifiers.
Okay, mahalo.
Aloha, Chair, Vice Chair, Trustees. Mahalo for having me. I'll be providing an update.
Mike. Oh, sorry. Maybe get a little closer, Kat.
Closer?
Yeah. Thanks, Al.
Sure.
Thanks, Ryan.
Okay, so I'll be providing an update on the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund performance for the past quarter. You shouldn't have the full report in the packet. So basically, I'll be covering the market environment, the portfolio performance, asset allocation, and key investment activities for the quarter. Next slide. So this slide highlights the key developments. So far this year, U.S. policy actions have added to market volatility and uncertainty, particularly around trade, immigration, federal spending, Growth-friendly measures such as tax reform has been delayed and tariff expectations are now closer to worst-case forecast. I mean, as a result, the economic outlook for the U.S. Reflects more of a slower growth and higher inflation. And the Fed is still expected to ease policy, but near-term risks remain elevated, especially with the inflation. Meanwhile, Europe and China have taken more proactive steps. Germany, for example, announced major infrastructure spending, and China's boosting domestic demand. Next page.
Oh, sorry.
Closer? Okay. All right. Sure. Let's see. Okay. Now, with the backdrop in mind, markets responded to rising uncertainty with mixed results. So if you look at the top left, you can see U.S. interest rates. Okay. All right. Is that better? All right. All right. So basically, when you look at the top left, you can see U.S. interest rates fell later in the quarter. This reflects more investor caution as expectations for slower growth. Now, when you look at the top right chart, it shows credit spreads. So high yield bonds widen more than investment grade bonds, really signaling more risk sensitivity. In the bottom chart, you see global stocks declining overall, but non-US markets outperformed US, where tech-led losses dragged the index down. And the bottom right shows real assets, like natural resources and infrastructure, which outperform, offering diversification benefits. Next slide. Next slide down. Perfect. So this slide gives a brief overview of the US fiscal backdrop and its impact on markets. So basically at a high level, if you look at the top left chart, government continues to run a deficit. So if current tax policies remain, deficits may worsen, adding pressures to borrowing costs and long-term financial health. So when markets reacted negatively to Liberation Day, right, the tariff announcement, and this amid fears of inflation, slower growth, and higher borrowing costs. While some tariffs were later paused, the episode highlighted concerns about the growing fiscal strain. So it's important to note that many of these proposals are still under negotiations and can change day to day. Next slide. Now, this slide zooms in on how key asset classes perform. With the exception of US equities, which were down nearly 5%, most other asset classes posted gains. So basically what this highlighted was that portfolio diversification was key. So if you had non-US stocks, bonds, and real assets, it helped cushion the impact of US market weakness. Next slide. So this slide covers the Native Hawaiian Trust performance for the quarter. Now, trust fund returned 0.48%, so about 0.5%, outperforming the policy benchmark that was flat. Private equity, public international equities were key contributors, along with real assets, while underweight fixed income duration slightly detracted returns. Next page. This slide shows the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund asset allocation at the end of the quarter, which remains within policy ranges and its strategic targets. Now, as a reminder, the board approved both the short-term and the long-term policy targets effective in January 2025. The short-term targets provided flexibility as we rebuild our private markets portfolio, which has a long-term target goal of 19%, compared to the current short-term target of 11%. Now, the long-term targets reflect a fully implemented portfolio designed to meet our current spending objectives. Next page. This slide summarizes the key activities during the quarter. We distributed about approximately $7.5 million for operations. This is in line with the spending policy. The marketable investment transactions reflect the ongoing transition from manager-manager structure towards more of a direct management, as well as raising liquidity to fund operations and future capital calls. Now, we should expect capital calls to pick up as new commitments are made, which I will cover on the next slide. So this slide highlights the 2024 private markets commitment activity. Year to date, we made steady progress in executing the board-approved commitment budget. As of May, the commitment stood at 45 million, with capital costs totaling approximately 11.5 million. So basically, we're actually putting money to work now with the capital costs. We made commitments to 2 new managers. As you can see here, it's Klein Hill Partners as well as Invest Partners, both focusing on the secondary markets. And Peters Hill Partners, which is actually an existing manager, which is under Goldman Sachs. So our overall focus remains on building the durable private markets portfolio to contribute to long-term returns. Now, we still have a remaining budget for 24, which we're currently conducting due diligence on prospective managers. At the same time, we need to work on the 2025 commitment, which I'll come before the board next month for approval. So that concludes my remarks in terms of performance update, and I'll open up for questions.
Members, any questions? Trustee Wahe.
Thank you. Thank you, Ryan. Ryan, as we move off the managers, and we're considering how we do have a history with these people, how we move forward and how we treat them. I was wondering because I never was able to get information on I always wanted to know how much money they actually earned for us from the time we started them as managers, and mostly it's because it's not too really. I wasn't really trying to judge them harshly, but it was like if we're spending 5% of our rolling average, the growth of the Native Hawaiian Trust Fund doesn't fully it's not a full accurate representation of what they're actually earning, because on a good day we're spending half the earnings, as it is. So I don't know if they were hesitant to let us know how much they're making, but if that's not something that they want to reveal to us, is there another way we can judge them to see how well they did for us and whether we want to consider using them in the future for other things?
Right. So that's part of the re-underwriting process as we review the existing managers, as well as looking at new managers for the portfolio. So there's ability to sort of slice and dice the existing manager roster that we have, and see the added value that they contributed to the portfolio. As you know, each manager or each manager that we have play a specific role in the portfolio. For example, Goldman within private markets, they're dedicated to the growth engine, providing returns for the portfolio versus a specific fixed income manager in which they're dedicated to generate conservative fixed income type of returns. So they have different objectives in the portfolio, but we're able to benchmark each manager to its category to see how they perform or underperform.
And my second question is, so we're not, as trustees, we're not the ones that are going to manage money, but we can, we develop like the asset allocation policies. And in recent days, so on the last trip I went to, it was mostly like fixed income discussions. And when I look at the various asset classes, I try to understand, even if it's on a real low level, how the asset class works, to how it makes money, what it's the way it does that. And for example, all the private equities to me are real interesting and exciting, and they're fun to think about and hear about. But when you have things like tariffs, and they say stuff like, they try to suggest investing in joint venture, it's hard for me to like, okay, like if cheap manufacturing is cut off, it's hard for me to see how going into those fields are going to make money. But with all the fixed income, it all makes sense to me that you can make money there even in these times. And one of the things that happened at the meeting that was the first time I ever heard someone say something like this. And these are all guys who are just they all just want to make money. Like they're not promoting any kind of politics. They're just guys who want to make money. And PIMCO is like a bottom up investment. So one guy saying something doesn't represent PIMCO. He just this guy was talking, but he was saying he was at the point where he took all his retirement out of equities completely, and it's all in high quality fixed income. I think that's how much things are changing these days. Where in the past you always wanted a super diversified. Everyone would say super diversified, right? So do you think we need to relook at our asset allocation policy and adjust it for how things are now? Or I don't know, what do you think about that?
I would say that's why we have the short term and long term. So long term is sort of that the asset allocation, the long term targets that we need to sort of deliver on the returns that we need to combat the spending objectives that we have. The short term allows us to consider factors like that in terms of market valuation, the opportunities, and adjust the portfolio based off of that. But yeah, we do look at it more of an annual basis. I would suggest we look at it more of an annual basis in terms of a year-end type of review to reflect the current market conditions. As you know, it has been changing.
Mahalo, Trustee Wahehe. Members, any other questions? All right, seeing none. Mahalo, Ryan.
Mahalo. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All right, members. At this time, we're going to move on to the next item on the agenda. Informational briefing by OHA Land Department on the following non-OHA owned properties. Hālawa Luluku Interpretive Development Project on Oahu, Hālawa Valley, TMK 199011022, and Luluku, TMK 145041, various parcels and freeway right-of-way. Anyone signed up to testify?
No testifiers.
All right. At this time, I'm going to call on CEO Stacy and Lori Walker to introduce our presenter. Unless, I believe she's online, yeah?
Yes.
Oh,
Ardina.
Ardina.
Yes.
All right. Would you guys like to say anything first?
I'll have Lori, our interim
Okay,
land director, introduce Ardina. Aloha, Ardina.
thank you.
Aloha Chair Souza, Vice Chair Waihe'e, and members of the
Aloha.
board. I'd like to introduce our Hālawa Luluku Interpretive Development Project Coordinator, Ardina Saranen. She has been on the project for 6 years now, I believe, maybe 7, and I think will be the last project coordinator. And as we are looking at a 2026 sunset of this 30-year plus project. So Ardina is going to give us an update on the project status now. Some exciting updates. We have a slideshow.
Yes.
Okay.
Ready.
Yeah.
Aloha,
Aloha, Mike. Aloha, Chair Souza, Vice Chair Waihe'e, and fellow trustees. Mahalo for inviting us to give you a better general overview and status updates for the HLAD project. We can move to the next slide. So the HLAD project goes back multiple decades and has been a highly controversial project even before it was established with our first project coordinator who began in the year 2000, 25 years ago. There's been a lot of strife with the community. I mean, it was one of the bigger projects where protests were really huge back then, and a lot of protesters were arrested on site. Kupuna have continued to fight for decades, and where we are today is really trying to bring closure for some of our affected communities. Next slide, please. The HLID project has multiple guiding documents. First is the 1987 MOA. Now, this was required for Section 106 compliance, which is the National Historic Preservation Act. We had multiple signatories on that document, Federal Highways as the main funder, as well as ACHP and SHPO, our State Historic Preservation Officer. The concurring parties were HDOT as the landowner, and then OHA was signed as recognized Native Hawaiian organization, which we still have consultation with our compliance department, and that is with Kamakana Ferreira. So the creation of HLID really came about with the cooperative agreement originally in 1999. There have been two amendments, one in 2010 and another in 2012. Those amendments refined our scope, the allocation of funding, and the project schedule. It was created for three main purposes. We needed to complete an interpretive development plan that was finalized in the year 2008 and concluded the planning phase. We also were required to facilitate stewardship management plans for each area, Hālawa and Luluku. There were other deliverables involved in this phase 2 design development, all of which have been completed. And then the last main purpose is selecting and implementing certain elements within that IDP during construction and implementation phase. That's where we are currently. Next slide, please. So to update you folks, as of this month, phases 1 and 2 are completed. Those are bullet points of certain deliverables that we have completed already. Phase 3 in progress. We procured our construction managers. They've completed all pre-construction tasks and final construction documents. We've assisted our stewards in obtaining revocable permits from HDOT for access in perpetuity to these sites. We had MOAs with the stewards, which were closed out after we completed stewardship management plans, as well as helped them obtain their permits. HDOT is now in their procurement phase. They have agreed to procure the general contractor for each site and ensure that the construction of support facilities are completed. One of the final things we need to do is return any remaining HLID inventory over to HDOT and finalize the closeout process, which has been extended multiple times, but we're still looking at mid-2026 as potential closeout. There are multiple long-term outcomes that we want to see happen. Number one, the stewards are self-sustainable. They're going to be able to conduct the educational programs and obtain external grants and funding without HLID. And the stewards will be working completely independently with HDOT. Any remaining OHA kuleana would be limited to compliance issues with that 1987 MOA. And so this will ensure the ongoing care by our stewards for the cultural sites and the contemporary structures, and it will help them expand their collaborations and programming. Next slide, please. So the total budget for HLID was established at $11 million, 90% funded federal highways, 10% HDOT. And our remaining kuleana as project manager is to ensure completion of phase 3. For Luluku, we've made some really great progress. I just got recent updates last week. Our general contractor RFP closed. They have awarded $4.8 million for the construction of Luluku facilities. and we expect the NTP for contractor on June 25th. We're looking at a groundbreaking ceremony with the stewards at Luluku, actually on July 5th, it has been determined. So it's coming up pretty quickly. This is very exciting for our stewards. We've been waiting a long time to get to this point. Hālawa's just a little bit behind. The RFP for the general contractor is going to be posted on HiPro June 4th. The engineer's cost estimate came in at 2.1 million, but there's a very good chance it'll come in higher. We're looking at a bid opening of July 14th for the Hālawa side. And with contract negotiations, we're looking at a groundbreaking, most likely December of this year or January of next year. We still just need to complete overall project closeout tasks. Those were further defined in communications directly with HDOT leadership. We proposed project closeout recommendations, which included a matrix outlining all of the cooperative agreement tasks and deliverables, compliance with all of our deliverables, what's been completed, what's been removed, closeout budget, those kinds of things. And then when we get to the end of construction for both of our project areas, we'll have to formalize the project closeout in collaboration with our compliance team, HDOT, and Federal Highways. Just a general overview of how the finances in the program work. HDOT deposited $300,000 to OHA, and this is meant to fund our operational costs on a monthly basis. They do pre-approve all of our budgets, biennium, annual, and any changes in between. If there are any purchases that hadn't been pre-approved, we do request approval in writing from them. We can't pay any bills without their approval. But we do submit monthly invoice packets to HDOT for reimbursement of our actual expenses. And as of this March, which was my most recent invoice packet that was processed, we, from fiscal year 01 to March fiscal 25, we've already billed HDOT a little over $6.5 million. All of the reimbursement payments have been received through February of 2025. And our estimated project funds that remain is 4.4 million. 3 million of that has been earmarked as construction funding. Now, if you do look back at the very top of this slide, you can see our 4.8 million award to Luluku for the construction, plus the 2.1 million estimate for Hālawa far exceed the $3 million we earmarked. HDOT and Federal Highways agreed last year to fund the full bid packages as advertised. That was a huge, huge win for us, considering all of the delays that we've been through over the years and all of the time that the community has waited to see a conclusion on this mitigation work. Next slide, please. These are our stewards, selected stewards for the Hālawa Valley area. Nakupuna Ame Nakakako'o Hālawa. Clara Sweet Matthews is the last remaining kupuna with this group. We just can't wait to get this done and celebrate with her. She's been on the front line since the very beginning. I believe she was one of the kupuna arrested in the early days. So it's exciting for us to bring this full circle and close it out for them. For Luluku side, we have Luluku Farmer Association and Aloha Aina Health and Learning Center. I do need to make a note that they've actually formed a collaborating relationship with Aina Momona as their umbrella organization. So the main folks there is Mark Paikuli Stride and Ohana, and Trisha Kehau Watson Sproat. There are links to both of these articles on the OHA website under Aina and Hālawa Luluku Interpretive Development Project, as well as the stewardship management plans all of the supporting documents as appendices. And there's a really amazing video that our digital print media team, Jason Lees, those folks did for the Luluku side. So please feel free to check that out if you so choose. That is all I have for you folks today, and I would like to open it up to questions.
Mahalo, Ardina. Great presentation. And we made sure we brought this to the board because we had some questions last week. So thank you for putting together such a great presentation in such short notice. So mahalo. Members, any questions? None? Wow. That means you did a really good job, Ardina. Thank you to you and thank you to Laurie. Mahalo. Oh,
Just a quick
sorry.
thing, Chair. Chair, just a quick thing.
Kalamai, Trustee Ahuna. Go ahead.
I think what this group did is they did a good job accessing the money from the state, other sources besides OHA. So great job on their part. I don't think we funded anything. So thank you, Ardina, for the updates, and thank you for all of that. Mahalo.
Absolutely. Mahalo to you folks.
All right, mahalo, Laurie. Thank you, mahalo, Ardina. Oh, Trustee Akaka.
So I was just going to, if the DOT was involved in the conversation, I was going to ask them some manao in terms of what the continued kuleana would look like with these community members and so forth. But maybe we could look at that at a future meeting. Yeah.
Send us your questions. And we'll get that. Yeah, for sure. All right. No other questions, members? All right. Mahalo, Laurie. Thank you, Ardina. All righty. Next item on the agenda is adjournment. Do I have a motion? Moved by Trustee Lindsay, seconded by Trustee Alapa. Could I get a roll call vote, please?
Trustee Ahuna,
Yes.
Trustee Akaka,
Aye.
Trustee Akina,
Aye.
Trustee Alapo, Trustee Galatario,
Aye.
Chair Kahele, Trustee Lindsay, Vice Chair Wahe'e,
Yes.
Chair Souza.
Aye. Mahalo, members, and we'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. for the BOT meeting. Mahalo.